Good morning. This is Father Stephen Kelly from St. John's Church in Detroit. We're continuing our series of daily morning meditations, where we generally look at one or another lessons that are assigned for morning or evening prayer, what is known as the daily office lectionary. And I thought today we'd take a look at the lesson that's assigned for evening prayer from St. John's Gospel. We're now beginning the second chapter, and this is one of those great readings that, of course, catches the fancy of people because of what Jesus does as a miracle, but it's also so vitally important in the theology of the church. John chapter 2, beginning at verse number 1. And the third day there was a marriage in Cana of Galilee, and the mother of Jesus was there, and both Jesus was called and his disciples to the marriage. And when they wanted wine, the mother of Jesus said unto him, They have no wine. And Jesus said unto her, Woman, what have I to do with thee? Mine hour is not yet come. His mother saith unto the servants, Whatsoever he saith unto thee, do it. And there were set 6 water pots of stone, after the manner of the purifying of the Jews, containing 2 or 3 firkins apiece. Jesus saith unto them, Fill the water pots with water. And they filled them up to the brim. And he saith unto them, Draw out now, and bear it unto the governor of the feast. And they bare it. When the ruler of the feast had tasted the water that was made wine, and knew not whence it was, but the servants which drew the water knew, the governor of the feast called the bridegroom, and saith unto him, Every man at the beginning doth set forth good wine, and when men have well drunk, then that which is worse. But thou hast kept the good wine until now. The beginning of the miracles did Jesus in Cana of Galilee, and manifested forth his glory, and his disciples believed on him. After this he went down to Capernaum, he and his mother and his brethren and his disciples, and they continued there not many days. Okay, so we've got 12 short verses. It's so much great theology. First of all, Jesus Christ has the power over the elements of the world, right? He can turn water into wine because he's God. He can do such things, right? This isn't some sort of magic parlor trick. But importantly, of course, wine will play a big part in the theology of Jesus, because ultimately he will use the wine to become his own precious blood. So he's turning water to wine, later on wine into his own precious blood. So there's that aspect of change. Also, the idea, of course, is that Jesus socially blesses the idea of marriage, right? We talk about in our marriage ceremony, right? Right in the opening sentences describing marriage, it says that it's blessed by the attendance at the feast of Jesus at the marriage of Cana in Galilee. And then here we have the simple thing, the wine is out, the wine is run out. And so Mary intercedes, right? She says, there's no wine. And she's like, it's not my time. In other words, I'm not ready to be made manifest as public ministry. But rather than that, Mary just turns to the servant and says, do whatever he tells you. Mary has some real intercession power with her son, doesn't she? And the church continues to believe that that's true, even now in heaven. And then, of course, we hear a little about the purification rituals of the Jews, of the water pots, and Jesus then turns the water into wine. Interesting, though, because this is actually a theological statement. It's easy to get lost in the words and miss the theological statement. When the wine is brought to the person who's in charge of the feast, the governor of the feast, and that's what they call it in this, the master of the whole feast, the head caterer, he tastes it and realizes this is better wine than they were serving. And he says a truth in the sense of that you usually serve the good stuff when people can taste it, right? Once they've had a lot of wine, they'll drink the stuff out of the box and it'll taste fabulous to them. But instead, this wine is so much better than the wine that people have been drinking already. And of course, this becomes an analogy. And the old wine that they were already drinking stands for the original covenant, right? It was good wine. It was the good wine they were serving first. But now the new wine is better, and the new wine is the analogy for the new covenant that is coming, which will be the covenant in Jesus' own blood. So there you go. How do you like that? You thought this was just about getting some free wine out of the episode. So it's important for us to look at these things, both with the eyes of the reality of the situation, what was going on in that moment, and the bigger picture of the theology of the church and why John records it for us. Today is Thursday, so we have our 12:30 Holy Communion, or 10:30 Holy Communion service, some adoration time beforehand, benediction right afterwards, and evening prayer tomorrow will be on your own. There's a conflict in the schedule, but anyway, I do hope that you will say your prayers. You can join us tomorrow morning at Mass if you're able, and that your Thursday is a day that is completely and totally full of blessings.